Okay, we're back at the counter today with another watch review. Today we're going to show you two watches, and at first glance, these watches may seem exactly the same to you, but in all actuality, they are two different watches from the same manufacturer. Today we're going to be reviewing the old Batman and the new Batman, but there's something a little bit different on this video that may give you pause with regards to which is which.
Yeah, so on the right here, this is the new 126710 BLNR, released in 2019. The new Batman, if you will. And to the left
is the old Batman, which is the 116710 BLNR, released in 2013. But what makes this a slightly different modified version of that watch is the bracelet. Many people look at these two watches, the old BLNR, the old Batman and the new Batman, and one of the easy tells where you can tell the difference between the two is typically the bracelet. And when we purchased this watch on the left, it came with the Oyster bracelet with the polished center links. One of the things we did was we added a Super Jubilee bracelet to the old Batman, and today we're going to be comparing the old Batman on the Super Jubilee to the new Batman on the more modern Jubilee with the clasp, the traditional clasp.
So if you go online and you read about these two watches, most of the debate, centers around the bracelets, right? The Oyster versus the Jubilee. Is this a dress watch? The GMT is a dressier watch versus tool watch. I mean, in my opinion, it's a tool watch, but some people say, it's a pilot's watch, and really the Oyster bracelet, it's better, or it should be on the GMT. We'd like to know your opinion on that. And then so the argument kind of centers around whether you should get the old or the new Batman if you have a choice, whether you want the Oyster bracelet or the Jubilee. But as it turns out, even though they're not interchangeable bracelets, with some ingenuity and spring bars, they're actually interchangeable. So you have options. Just like our other videos talking about options, you have the option of getting either the old and new, and you can put either a Oyster or a Jubilee bracelet on both models.
That's right. And I think what we've been able to determine is that there's actually a lot more flexibility. One of the things that people love to talk about when they talk about the Rolex GMT Master 2 is that with the 5 digits. So with the 5-digit GMT Master, it was always said, well, if you buy that watch, you have 6 watches in one, because you could have a Jubilee bracelet, you could have a Oyster bracelet, you could have a black insert, a Pepsi insert, or a Coke insert. And a lot of people tout the 16710 previous generation as the most versatile of the Rolex GMT Masters. I think in this video, we're gonna show you that there's a lot of versatility even with the modern GMT Masters, similar to the versatility that you found in the previous generation.
So we can dive in a little deeper. Besides the obvious differences in the bracelet, there is a slight difference in the lugs, supposedly. I mean, both of these watches are at 40 millimeters in diameter, thickness 12.5 millimeters thick. However, the new BLNR supposedly has a more tapered lugs.
I don't know if we can get that close.
I don't think we can get that on this video, but we'll post some photos on our Instagram page and you be the judge. All right, so those are kind of the cosmetic differences. Now, on the inside, obviously these are two different watches.
Right. Obviously the old watch, this watch here on the left, has the 3186 movement, which is the previous generation movement, 50 hours power reserve, and the new Batman on the right has...
Yeah, the new one has, the 70-hour power reserve. The model is, 3285.
Yep. So, definitely some differences. I think there's probably the biggest differences between these two watches are what you don't see inside the watch versus what you do see outside of the watch. And, again, while there are slightly tapered lugs, I guess, more tapered lugs on the new Batman, which we have on the right here, it's very difficult to be able to discern that, I think, by looking at these with the naked eye. I think even under a loop, when we looked at these, it was very difficult to tell the difference between the lugs, but some people will swear that they absolutely could spot the differences of, 10 feet away, and others said, hey, I've looked at this thing under a loop and I can't really see the difference between the two. Regardless, I think there are pretty minor cosmetic differences from an external case perspective, much more of a difference, with the internal movement and mechanism of the watch as well. But as you can see here, very similar as far as the polishing, the beveling, what's brushed, what's polished. I think even when you look at these bracelets, and again, this is the Super Jubilee bracelet, very quickly and easily identifiable when we flip these watches over and you look at the clasp. So this has the new Batman here has the new modern clasp with the fold over buckle, whereas this Super Jubilee has the hidden buckle. And I've actually got my original Oyster bracelet here that I took off of this watch and put the Super Jubilee on. But we can see here it's got the more traditional Rolex bracelet. It's got the fold over clasp. It's got much more adjustability, certainly in that bracelet. When we think about the half link extension link, and there's also some micro adjustments that are available in the buckle of the bracelet itself, whereas the Super Jubilee, very little adjustment. I think once you get this adjusted, you take out the number of links that are required for your wrist, you're really kind of stuck with that size. There's no way to quickly micro adjust this. It's my understanding that they do have a half length that's available, but certainly one of the benefits of the new Batman is that adjustability of that new Jubilee bracelet. And I think that's a big deal for some, especially in the summertime, when you find the watch, getting a little tight on your wrist. If it's humid or hot, you can quickly pop open that extension link and get a little bit, I think, extra breathing room in the bracelet. Whereas again, with this Super Jubilee, and I can open this up, but you can see here, again, it's the modern Rolex buckle that you see in most of the watches, but what you can't do on this bracelet is any sort of micro adjustment. So I'd have to pop a link out or add a link in if I want to really change the size of this bracelet. What I do like about this bracelet is just how seamless it is. So this reminds me a lot of the Day-Date and that hidden crown buckle. It's very smooth. It almost looks like a true bracelet versus the new Jubilee bracelet. Obviously much more traditional. It's got the buckle like the Oyster bracelet, so quite a bit different.
Yeah, if you haven't tried a watch on with a Super Jubilee, you have to. It's just a fantastic wearing experience.
And I'll stick that on just on my wrist. I'll take off my other watch here and pop that on just to give people a sense of what it looks like when it's on the wrist. But to your point, I find it one of the most comfortable bracelets to wear. And because you don't have that buckle, external buckle, what you end up with is you just end up with just such a smooth, easy to wear, slips under the shirt cuff, very, very easy, no matter how narrow that cuff is on a dress shirt or any other shirt for that matter. And then just wearing it day to day, you don't get it caught on things if you're sitting at your desk, and it doesn't get caught on a keyboard. It wears very, very close to the wrist. And to me, I love this bracelet. I love the Super Jubilee, and it's really unfortunate that they stopped producing that. And I know originally it was not available on this watch or any sports watch for that matter. It was only found, I think, on the Datejust. But fortunately, there's, as we said earlier, with the right spring bars, the Super Jubilee bracelet is adaptable to a broad range of watches, even though it wasn't originally designed or fitted for that watch.
Yeah, so let's get right down to it. If you have to choose and you want to buy one of these two, which one would you get? It's not an easy question to answer. Probably some of our viewers would maybe even have stronger opinions on one over the other. Our recommendation is to actually go with the old Batman. So even though the new Batman here has the upgraded movement. When the old Batman was released in 2013, it was a more limited version of the GMT, stainless GMT lineup. You had the all black version, which, although not readily available, was their quote unquote regular model. The Batman was a little harder to find. Now that they've discontinued the black GMT, the new Batman has become sort of their regular model, if you will.
Right.
Not that you're going to walk into a AD and see this,
sitting in the case.
No. And I believe the Pepsi, is now the more limited version.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's my understanding. We don't know the exact production numbers by any means, but it definitely feels like that as far as what we see and what we hear in our own personal buying experience is that the Batman has become a more easy watch to buy, relatively speaking, when we compare it to the Pepsi.
Yeah. So being that, the old Batman was the first two-tone bezel. It only had a 5-year run. I just believe it's just slightly more special watch.
Yes, and this one I agree with you, absolutely. And I think what really puts it over the top for me is the fact that we can go with either the Oyster bracelet, in which this watch comes on, or if you do a little bit of searching, talk to your AD, or there's plenty of different options on the internet, find a Super Jubilee bracelet, and that gives you the best of both worlds. So you can actually have the old Batman, which is, again, only produced for a certain number of years, and you have the option of wearing that on an Oyster bracelet or on, in this instance, a Super Jubilee. So I think I agree with you. I think if all other things equal, I think I would go for the old Batman versus the new Batman.
Yes, so let us what you think. You agree, disagree? Why not? Let us know.
Great. Okay, I think that does it for this video. We'll be back at you next time with some new content and some new watches. Until then, please feel free to leave your comments in the comment section and check out our Instagram, and we'll be posting additional photos of these watches and others as we move forward. Thanks.